right, friends, so it is time for lesson 2, and in this lesson we're going to be going over 2 more strategies for adding and subtracting. These are strategies that you have already learned throughout the year and already practiced with, but it can't hurt to get some more practice and to keep these fresh on our mind. So we're going to talk about adding and subtracting by chunking. So this is our first strategy for this lesson. So when you add in chunks, you keep one addend whole and add the second addend in friendly chunks. So this is kind of like, it could be compared to expanded form like we did in the last lesson, but it's not exactly it. So in this one, you keep one of the numbers whole. So 23 plus 12, I don't break apart 23. I break apart the 12 into friendlier numbers or chunks. So I have 23. Well, I know that the 1 is in the tens place, and so that is the value of 10. So 23 plus 10 is 33. And then I have a 2 left in the ones. So 33 plus 2 is 35. So that's just a small example of how you can add up using chunks. So let me show you. I have a few examples. So I have here 53 plus 24. Well, as you can see, I'm going to keep the 53. I'm not going to change that, but I am going to chunk the 24, and I'm going to separate it. So first, I'm going to do the tens. So I see a 2 is in the tens place, but I know that that value is 20. So I have 53 plus 20, which is 73, because I'm just adding those tens. So 5 plus 2 is 7, 3 plus 0 is 3, 73. Well, now I still have 4 ones left for my 24. I haven't used it all yet. So I bring down the 73 from my first answer, and I have to add 4 ones to that because I haven't used those yet. So 73 plus 4 is 77. So you can also do this with 3-digit numbers. You can keep one number the same, and then you just break apart the second number and add it on. So I have 113 plus 234. So I start with my 113. I don't break that apart, but I break apart 234. So I have a 2 in the hundreds place, which means that its value is 200. So I start by adding 113 plus 200. So 113 plus 200 is 3. Oh, I totally messed that up. It's 313, not 213. And then I'll do 313 plus 30 because I have a 3 in the tens place. So 313 plus 30 would be 343. Now I have the ones left. So I take 343 and add 4, and it equals 347. So notice that you are basically taking one of the numbers and you are putting it into expanded form, and you're just adding it to the addend. So there I used my hundreds, used my tens. All right, so now here's another example of the adding with the 2-digit numbers. So we have 25 plus 63. So I keep my 25 the same. I do not break that apart. And then I have a 6 in the tens place. Well, we know if a number is in the tens place, if this is a 6, its value is actually 60. So 25 plus 60 is 85. And then I take that 85 because I still have to add on 3. I have 3 ones left. So then I add 3 and it gives me 88. So this is just an easier way to break apart numbers so that you can add them together. And here's one more. So we have 13 plus 46. So I keep the 13. As you can see, I don't break that one apart, but I am going to break apart 46 because to me that's a bigger number. It's harder for me to work with. So I see a 4 in the tens place, and I know that that value means that that 4 is 40. So 13 plus 40 is 53. That bring down the 53. And then I have 6 ones left. So I have to add those to our 53 to get my right answer. So 53 plus 6 is 59. Great job. So let's look at one more example of a 3-digit addition using chunking. So we have 143 plus 356. So we keep 143. I'm not going to change that, and I'm not going to break that apart. Well, 356, like I said with the previous one, that number is way too big for me to work with, so I need to break it apart or chunk it. So the 3 is in the hundreds place. Well, I know that if a 3 is in the hundreds place, its value is actually 300. So 143 plus 300 is 443. Well, then I have 443, which is the answer, but I need to add on these other two numbers. So the 5 is in the tens place, so its value is actually 50. 443 plus 50 is 493. Now I take that 493 and I have one more thing that I need to add on. I need to add on 6 ones. So 493 plus 6 is 499, and that's your answer. So you can also use chunking for subtraction. So when you break subtraction into chunks, it's easy to subtract the parts, and then you just put those parts back together. So you start with the tens. So they started with their tens. They have a 5, which is 50, and a 2, which is 20, and 50 minus 20 is 30. And then they subtract 7 minus 4, because those are the ones, and that's 3. Well, when you add together the parts that you got, you get 33. So 57 minus 24 is 33. And you can do the same thing with 3-digit numbers, just like we did for adding. So we have 369 minus 237. So you're going to start with the hundreds. So we have 300 minus 200, which is 100. And then you have 60, because it's in the tens place, 60 minus 30 is 30. And then we have 9 minus 7. Those are the ones, and we get 2. And then our whole answer, we have to add all of those chunks together, all of those parts that we got, and we get 132. So here we go. We have 57 minus 32. So just like in the previous post, I start with my tens first. So I have 50, because in the 57, it's 50, 5 in the tens, and then a 3 in the tens for 32 means that it's 30. So I subtract those first. 50 minus 30 is 20. And then I look at the ones for each number. I have a 7 minus 2. So 7 minus 2 is 5. Well, I take both of those numbers that I got, those parts, 20 and 5, and I add them together. And my answer is 25. 57 minus 32 is 25. All right, so we can do the same thing with the 3-digit numbers. So we have 337 minus 123. So we start with the hundreds, remember? So I have 3 in the hundreds place on this number, so that's 300. And I have a 1 in the hundreds place on this number, so that's 100. So I subtract those from each other. 300 minus 100 is 200. And now I look at the tens. So in this number, I have a 3 in the tens, which means its value is 30. I have a 2 in the tens place on this side, which means that it is the value of 20. So I have 30 minus 20 equals 10. Now I just look at the ones. I have 7 minus 3, and that's 4. So I take all of the answers, so 200, 10, and 4, and I add them together. So 200 plus 10 plus 4 is 214. Let's look at another example. So we have 39 minus 14. So what do we start with again? We start with the tens. So I have the 3, which is in the tens place, and its value is 30, minus the 10 from this one, because we have a 1 in the tens, so its value is 10. 30 minus 10 is 20, and then I just subtract the ones. So 9 minus 4 is 5. So I take the answers, 20 and 5, add them together, and I get 25. So that is how you subtract using those chunks. So here's one more example of a 3-digit subtraction using chunks. So we start with the hundreds. So in this number, I have a 4 in the hundreds. So that value is 400. In this number, I have a 2 in the hundreds. So its value is 200. 400 minus 200 is 200. I have a 5 in the tens place in this number, which its value would be 50. And a 3 in the tens place in this number, so its value is going to be 30. 50 minus 30 is 20. And now I just subtract the ones. 7 minus 4 is 3. So I take the answers, 20 or 220 and 3, and I add those together, and what do I get? 223.